There's a cauldron beneath the moon.
And welcome back to another episode of The Witch and the Wise Man. I am D.E. Riley, the Wise Man, and this beautiful lady sitting next to me is...
Tonya Steinborn, the witch.
I catch you off guard with that every time.
I'm like, who am I? Such a
What do you
complex
want?
question.
I didn't know there was going to be a test.
That's right.
Okay, this episode we're going to do something a little different, a little fun. And this is something that Tonya and I have been interested in, have shared our interest back and forth for a long time now, a long time. But lately, and recently, here where I live in Northeast Ohio, we have had an outbreak of Bigfoot sightings. We have had like 9 in just the past week, all in the same area, all around the same spot. So we're going to talk about Bigfoot a little bit tonight. We're going to talk about those sightings, but we're going to expand and talk about Bigfoot in general, our beliefs, our anything that we have come across concerning this. I have not had any personal experiences. I'm telling you this right now. I started studying Bigfoot back in 1970. I think it was 74. Yeah, when I was living in Northern California. I was living about 40 minutes from the Willow Creek area, where everybody has seen the home video, 8mm video of Bigfoot, the first one ever taken. I can't remember the guy's name now. It'll come back to me who took that. But I lived, just down the road from there, so we would go out Bigfoot hunting all the time. We never found anything, but it became kind of like the people I hung around with. We were all footies, what we called ourselves, and we like getting together, talking about it, showing the stuff we've come across and things we've read and all this kind of stuff. So it became a huge source of interest. Now, whether you believe in Bigfoot or don't believe in Bigfoot, that's your business. I really don't care one way or another. I happen to, and I'll explain those here very shortly. But on the other hand, Tonya lives in Eastern Canada, and there has been a number of sightings up there also forever. It seems like your area is really heavy in it. Have you come across anyone, or run into anything that you felt weird about?
Well, and I grew up like in Alberta and in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains, and that's definitely Bigfoot lore there too. My dad actually used to tell us about a story. He had an encounter with a creature, and he was fascinated with the subject of Bigfoot. So I remember as a kid seeing a bunch of Bigfoot books in our library, and Dad talking about how he saw, like, got a glimpse of this creature up in the mountains. And so it's just been something I've been interested in since I was a kid. Now, unlike if we were to talk paranormal and ghosts and all that, I have bazillion, experiences that we'll talk about another time. Sasquatch, the closest thing I've had is just a really odd feeling in the woods and some strange knocking sounds high up in the tree. But that would be the closest thing I could think could have potentially been, but I haven't got a clue if it was or not. But
and I used to run into that, also there in Northern California, because at that time I'm in my late teens, 17, 18 years old. And when you weren't in school, you were or working, you were running the hills. I mean, you were always up in the mountains, in the forests, doing something, camping or hiking or whatever. We were always outdoors. But it wasn't always, but it seemed like there were certain times you would go out there and there was just this weird feeling, like you said, you get that sense of somebody watching you, and you don't know why, and you can't see anything, you can't find anything, and everything seems to be normal, but is just that unsettling
Feeling.
feeling, you know? And that's as close as I ever came. Now, some people that lived up there, um, because it was a logging community, that was the main trade up there. You talk to some of the loggers, they were not afraid to tell you about stuff they ran across in the woods, and they would run across either a shadow they couldn't make out what it was. Some of them had plaster casts of footprints, that are sitting on their mantles in their houses, stuff like that they came across. So that it was really fascinating. But you start looking into the history of Bigfoot, and it goes back forever. I mean,
Yeah.
since time began, there's always the Native Americans. I don't care which ones they are, which tribe it is, or where they were located in the United States, always had stories of these large, hairy humanoid creatures.
Yeah.
All of them did.
Yeah.
So when does I don't know,
When does fiction become fact or lore become reality?
Exactly. Yeah, and the things that even now, I mean, and this, that stories that we heard when we were kids, about giants or these certain cryptids that lived or whatever, they're starting to come true. They're starting to find these giants' bones, and as we further advance in science, I think we're going to start finding things that we think are fantasy, we think are just stories, hillbilly stories, are going to come true. Stuff is going to start falling in place, and I think this is going to start happening with a lot of stuff the further we get into technology, and it's really kind of cool and kind of scary all at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, do I believe in Bigfoot? Yeah, I absolutely do. And there's no reason for me not to. I look at it kind of like, I don't know if you've ever heard the story of Ishi,
It sounds familiar.
the last of his tribe. That was in outside of Sacramento, California, and this was the late 1800s. They thought they had all the Indian tribes cleared out of the area, whether it be massacred or run off. There was no Indians left there at all. And this farmer heard a commotion out in his barn one morning and went running out there. And here's this Indian standing there. And he's not supposed to be in this area. There's no Indians in this area. And he's standing in this guy's barn. He's literally robbing food from this guy so he can survive. And come to find out that Ishi, he was a grown man. He wasn't a boy. This was a full grown man. Lived all of his life with his family 5 miles outside the city limits. Lived their entire lives. The whole tribe did, but the tribe, because of disease, because of other things, started disappearing. And he was the last one. He was the last living member of his tribe, and he still lived there. And he got caught. It wasn't so much that I think he was. I think it's a case of he didn't want to be found.
Yeah.
And he was found accidentally, just like Bigfoot. I don't
Yeah.
think he wants to be found because he doesn't want to be found. His life is perfectly good, just like it is.
Yeah.
And he's looking at us going, man,
Yeah.
what a mess. I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
So he stays away. He stays off the radar as much as he possibly can. And all the sightings that happen are just accidental occurrences. That's all they are. So, yeah, I do believe. And you said your father ran across. Is that? I'm assuming, and I think you do believe in that there is a Bigfoot or something else.
Sure. Yeah. No, I definitely do.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that we don't know and don't understand. And if things don't want to be seen, I think, especially like you look up here in Canada too, there's so much territory that's not populated. There's so much territory that people, you know, there's not going to be very many humans out there. So,
Right.
like you said, with this story of Ishi, that,
Mhm.
people can be there. And if they don't want to be seen,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah. And it's a good read for anybody who is interested in following more of that story because there's a whole lot more to that story. Um, you can find that the book that I read was called Ishi, the Last of His Tribe, and it chronicles details his life, and he died fairly young in, I don't want to say captivity, but he was,
yeah,
um, and it's just a very interesting, very compelling story, and you think, well, if this guy can do it, why can't Sasquatch? Why can't
right,
Bigfoot? Just
yeah,
completely evade, being caught at all. Um, but in looking at these reports that came, I'm going to read a couple of them that came across. Um, it says 6 to 7 reported between March 6th and March 11th in Northeast Ohio, where I live,
yeah,
in Portage County and Trumbull County, where I live. Um, the witnesses described several encounters. A person in Montauk said that they locked eyes with a 9 foot tall brown Sasquatch in broad daylight. Another report, a resident reported seeing a large black shadow 8 to 10 feet tall while letting their dog outside at 4 a.m. Another sighting involved a 6 foot brown figure running with unusually long strides near Wyndham. In another case, a German Shepherd reportedly began shaking with fear after encountering something in the backyard. These reports are also near the Headwaters Trail, a wooded outdoor recreation corridor used by hikers and cyclists. Um, the region's also close to camping destinations, so it's needless to say a wooded area with plenty of water, plenty of woods around there, and plenty of ways for this thing to survive. But it's funny that all of a sudden they just pop up, just boom,
yeah.
out of nowhere. Since the 70s, there hasn't been really any sightings in this area since the 70s, and all of a sudden these things come out of nowhere. Now, I think the thing that gets me about these that I'm still not comfortable with is at the end of that article, it says, so far, there's no photos or police reports have been confirmed. There aren't any pictures. This is 2026. Everybody is an android. Everybody has one of these attached to their hands 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and there's no photos. That doesn't sit right with me. And in a way, I can understand because I've had things happen. In funny story, my neighbor across the street did something hilarious, and I died laughing. I was watching him through my front window, and I completely lost it. I fell on the floor laughing. It was so comical, and the first thing I thought was, "Why didn't I have my camera?" And it was
Right,
sitting right beside me, right
right.
beside me. Why didn't I film that? That was hilarious. But yeah, it can happen, and
Well, but imagine being scared in that moment, how you'd be like, you wouldn't think to get your phone if you're like terrified in that moment. Like,
right.
I could see how people would freeze in those situations and not, I mean, I've been super engaged in what I'm doing in the moment. And then, like you said, with your story with your neighbor, and then you're like, oh, why did I grab my phone?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's just human nature, I guess. Is
And it's probably happening rather quickly too, right?
well,
Like,
yeah, it's only a few seconds, and I mean, if you're letting your dog outside at 4 a.m., you're not going to be carrying your phone with you. I mean, I wouldn't. I I don't
no,
want anything to do with my phone at 4 a.m. Um, But in going back, I mean, recorded sightings go back to, I found one from 1811,
Wow.
uh, where explorer David Thompson reportedly found large, mysterious footprints in the Canadian Rockies.
Yeah.
In 1884, a British columnist newspaper article reported the capture of a black furry beast in British Columbia named Jacko. Have you heard of that one,
Yeah.
Jacko?
Yeah.
Uh, in 58, the term Bigfoot was coined after loggers discovered large footprints in Bluff Creek, California. Again, about an hour from where I lived. Um, Patterson, because that's the next one. In 1967, the famous Patterson film was shot in Northern California at
Yeah.
Willow Creek, cementing the modern visual image of the creature. So those are four big substantial sightings, um, and it's like I cannot believe that this thing doesn't exist. I can't bring myself to that because you've been out in the middle of nowhere. I've been out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, literally nowhere. And it's easy. It's easy to get lost and not get found again in a place like that. If you don't want to
Yeah.
be found and you're out in this, million-mile expanse of forest, that's easy. I
Yeah.
walk out there, I guarantee you, you're never going to find me again. I'm gone, and it's not hard to hide from people. It's easy to hide from people, no matter how big you are.
Well,
It's
and imagine if these creatures have been around for a long time, they probably have incredible senses
oh
of
yeah,
smell and sight and hearing that, you know, it'd be much different than you and I are going into the woods. It would be they would be heightened as far as sensing human movement, and if they're trying to avoid it, then it would make sense that they don't want to be found, so
yeah,
they hear you coming literally miles away, and they peace out.
and I mean, lately, I've seen some very, very compelling um, images and videos, and it's just, man, some of it. One of them I saw was like a Bigfoot mom, and who was carrying a baby with her. A
Yeah,
small Bigfoot, a small whatever.
Smallfoot.
Um, yeah, um, and they were off in the woods. Now, if you're going to do something like that, you're not going to dress a kid up it's just way too much hassle there, and you don't get any notoriety anymore. That's not even an issue. That's like saying I saw a UFO. Yeah, so you know,
Yeah,
there's no notoriety there anymore. I think because people are now beginning to believe in what 20 years ago we thought was just myth or just impossible, and
yeah,
people are going, man, that's not out of the realm of reality anymore. It's just not. We're
yeah,
finding too many things. And discovering too many things and about the past that we didn't know. And there are so many extinct civilizations. I think they counted like 6 or 7 civilizations that were here before ours
right.
that they're starting now to find history of and finding evidence of. And so why isn't this one of its own? That I firmly believe it's out there. And what incredible intuition this thing has for where it lives. And like you said, the ability to the brains, the smarts to outdodge us, to stay out of our way, to live its own life peacefully, comfortable. I envy it. I envy this thing because it's living how I believe everybody should live. Just
Yeah,
being alive, but to be alive for that long, to exist for that long, your prowess on living in the woods has got to be incredible. just, the outdoor knowledge that this thing must possess to survive. Because you know what winters are like in the north. So
I'm
do I.
Canadian, I sure do. So I guess my question would be to you is so what do you think Bigfoot is? Do you think it's like an ancient ancestor that's branched off during evolution? Do you think it's an interdimensional being that's coming in and out? Like there's a lot of different theories. Which one do you lean towards?
For me, I think it is just what it is. It's its own creature, its own entity. Yeah, it may be an offshoot of humans, an evolutionary offshoot of humans. It may be its own evolved being. Um, Honestly, I kind of lean towards that. Um, and I'm not even sure if it's finished evolving. It may just be in the process. Um, but it's it definitely will make you think if you sit down and start doing some of the research and reading some of this. Now, be very careful, folks out there now, because with the advent of AI, you can make pretty much any freaking thing you want to make anymore. You're the creator. So you have to be
Yeah.
very, very careful as to what you're looking at especially on the internet. Um, there's fortunately now a lot of the companies are requiring you to tag your AI videos before you post them. They have to have that AI tag in there, and but still stuff gets by. People are
Yeah.
gonna slip stuff by. They're gonna try and get their 15 minutes of fame. So you can make anything. So just be very careful about what you look at, what you see out on the internet right now, because some of it's really good.
It is. That's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, and I came across it in studying this, the sightings here and looking into these. I came across, a photograph. I came across a real short video, and then I read this. Well, no photographic images have been captured, so somebody's out there playing already. They're
Right.
doing their thing. Um,
Have
and
you seen some pictures or videos that you feel are authentic?
the again, the Patterson film, I believe, is authentic.
Yeah.
They've done the measurements. I've been right there where that was taken. That part of Willow Creek, right in there. I've been all up and down that area. And the size guesstimates and the scale of everything down there. Yeah, they did confirm that this thing was like 8 feet tall. Its arms swayed differently. It does have muscular movement under the hair as it walks, as it takes
Yeah.
stride. You can see the muscles in the back, as it moves. They think it's a female. They're pretty confident it was a female because it does have breasts.
Yeah.
Um, so with that, I do believe that one was real. It was just so weird that it happened. The way that it happened, they just, like any other Bigfoot sighting, they stumble upon it. Their horses buck. They get crazy. Patterson's bucked off. He's got his 8mm camera and looks up, sees this thing, and just starts filming, as quick as he can. So yeah, it's going to be bouncy and not look, real good or real in focus simply because of the thing that he was involved in. But I've seen some pictures of him like peeking out through trees.
Jeez.
You really can't see it until you zoom in,
Yeah.
and then you see those eyes, just sitting there staring at you. And it's, I some of my scene, I'm just like, wow, that's crazy.
Well, I've
Um,
seen some that I get like this feeling when I see the pictures that I literally get goosebumps over my whole body. And there's just something very I don't know how to describe it. It's like you're like, yeah, that's the real deal. That one there.
I think the thing comes down to when you're looking at these photographs, because we do have the technology now, and we can go in and zoom in almost infinitely and look at things. But you get these photographs of like, I don't buy the ones where they're 500 feet away walking across a road, because who's going to be driving down the road filming, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not, on an empty road here, let's just put the camera up here and start filming us driving down the road. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
So those, are kind of fishy to me, but the ones where you can definitely zoom in, you can definitely see features. And if you zoom in and look at the eyes, that's your tell right there. I mean, that you're either going to have these dead eyes that AI creates, or you're going to have
Life.
these eyes
Life.
that you just
I
go,
have
"Ooh."
life.
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
said, chills. You get those chills when you look at it, and there's been a couple of them that I've tried to debunk, and I got the software to do this. That used to be the business I was in, was image editing and video editing, using computer software. So I can go in. Some of them are, they, why do I have three arms? Like the video I made with you.
I was like, yeah, it's great, except for I have a third arm.
I didn't even catch that. So, that shows you where I'm at. But, you start looking for different little tells that say it, shows you it's AI or it's not. But the eyes are a dead giveaway. I mean, if you've
Yeah.
got a picture where you can zoom in, and there are several out there, can zoom in on the, just the eyes. It's pretty scary. And what I'm going to do is, because these photos are common, they've been put out on the internet, they're accessed by everybody. I'm going to pull down a few of them and post them along in this video so people can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Right over the top
Yeah.
of us, so we can just keep talking. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah, those ones we were sharing them quite a bit last year. I remember back and forth those ones of them in the trees, and the guys was explaining like there's the eyes, and then you couldn't even see it till he pointed them out, and then you could see them move slightly and stuff. So it wasn't your mind playing tricks creating a humanoid, because our brains will do that. We will see faces and all sorts of things. But then they would move, and you'd be like, oh, those are the ones that gave me the shivers, because I was like, holy.
There was one not too long ago, and I think I'm wanting to say it was in Colorado, but don't quote me on that. But the person was they were traveling by train, and they were going through the mountains, and the guy looks out the window, and they're in the middle of nowhere. I mean, nothing's around it for hundreds and hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
And here is this large, dark figure running through the brush, this open pasture land, and he happened to have filmed it, and I don't know if he showed it to the conductor or he showed it to somebody. I can't remember who it was now. I have to go back and look up the story. But they go, you got probably the best video of a Bigfoot I've ever seen, because there's
really,
people can't get out here. There's no way to get out to where they were at.
yeah,
it's completely cut off. You would have to hike for days and days and days, and somebody's not going to do that to scare a bunch of people on a train for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
It's just that's
Doesn't make
outlandish.
sense.
Doesn't make any sense at all. But yeah, I'll have to look that one up, and if I find it, I'll post it up also, because it is really, really a compelling video.
Did you see, I know we talked about it when you were visiting last summer, the missing 411, the hunted? I think we tried to look for it and I couldn't get it on my streaming services. And
yeah, I remember you talking about it. I have not looked it up. I need to make a note.
They have some of the it was these hunters from the 70s who have some of the most compelling evidence I've ever seen or heard. And they would go up, way up. They had this camp they had to take horses and hike up for hours and hours and hours to get to this camp, and they'd go back every year and they'd hunt. They were hunting deer, and they had this like makeshift enclosure, and they had some incredible experiences. The sounds that these creatures were vocalizing, they'd had them analyzed, and they said that it's not possible to come from human vocal cords or any known species that they could identify. And they had several encounters with these creatures when they would go back. Every year they would have these encounters, and it was the most compelling. Even watching, I've seen it several times, and I'm just like goosebumps all over, because I'm like, and there was a lot of like kind of paranormal, like strange lights that would happen at this time. That they would, there were smells, there was a change in the atmosphere, there was often like some type of weather event. Like there was all these things that kind of, for me, started to make me wonder. I wonder if these are interdimensional and they pop in and out because of some of this information that this show was bringing forward about these experiences, because it was called Missing 411. The first one is about how people go missing in the parks, and there's all these strange occurrences in these national parks. Right. And then the second one was The Hunted, and it was talking about how these hunters disappear, or like no trace, and these are people that know the woods. And then there were stories of, these beings on this show that was just compelling. I tell you, if you're interested in this topic, probably the best show I've seen on it.
It's called Missing 411.
Yeah. So there's two of them. The first one is about how people disappearing in the national forests. The second one is Missing 411, The Hunted. And that one's all about hunters. And then it has this, and these are like guys, old hunter guys, that you're like, there is no way these old guys are going to be making up a story like that. And they didn't tell anybody for decades about what was going on.
And that is such a common occurrence. I mean, up there in Northern California where I lived, I was a little over an hour from Mount Shasta. And Shasta is notorious for weird shit going on up there. I mean, notorious, if that's a word.
Yeah.
And, there has been, I don't know how many times people have gone up there. They know the area. They're from the area. They don't have any problem with it. They go up to Shasta to go hiking, and they had never seen again. Just completely gone off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And that happens quite often up there. And, there's all kinds of weird shit happens. Go look up Mount Shasta mysteries sometime. You look it up on the internet. It goes on and on and on. It's unbelievable. So, yeah, there's just so much in our world, in our universe, that we have closed our minds to. And I think a lot of the Bigfoot is not that. I think that people don't want to believe because it scares them. It's not, very settling to think that there's some gigantic monster roaming around in the woods, and we don't know what it is. We can't capture it. We haven't found bones. We haven't found hair. We haven't been able to locate anything, except the occasional footprint, the occasional photo, and the occasional story. Other than that, there's no proof. Well, why would people be doing this? I mean, you're not getting really any notoriety anymore, especially this many. When you have 9 sightings inside of a week in just this one area, that's not 9 different people making shit up. I mean, they just I just don't buy that. There just not isn't the interest anymore in creating the sensationalism, you
Yeah.
know?
No, the motivation really isn't there.
Yeah.
They're like, what would the motivation be? Like, they're not getting any financial gain from it. They're not getting notoriety at this point for these types of stories. So there's really no gain for somebody to make this stuff up. So that, especially when you start looking at who's telling these stories, like I was saying, this these encounters that these hunters were having, like these were good old boys. These guys are not, they are not the kind type of people to be telling wild stories of beings that were kind of trying to scare them off type. Like they didn't talk about it for a long, long time. So it just really makes you, you question a lot of things about our reality and what we know and what we don't know. And the thing too is like whatever these creatures are, there's not, from my knowledge, stories of them attacking people. They're more about just getting the hell away from us.
Now, there's been there was one story that I came across years and years ago about someone said that they had been kidnapped by a Bigfoot and held
Oh,
hostage. I didn't put a lot into it, simply because it just seems so weird, that it's trying to stay away from everybody. What's it going to do with you? Why is it
right. Like, why are
taking
you so
you?
special?
Yeah, why are you so special that it's going to take you back to its cave
Yeah.
where it shares a meal with you and, watches Monday Night Football or whatever they did and, then let you go. I mean, so yeah, that didn't sit well, with me, that story. So I
Fair
kind of,
enough. Yeah.
but like you said, there's no recognition to be had in this. These photographs that I talk about, the videos that I talk about, I had to look up the name of the original video because frankly, I don't think it's anybody really gives a shit that much anymore. They could care less. Okay, it's living out there. It's doing its thing. Whatever. We'll just let it be. I don't think there's any act, and even the Bigfoot TV shows that used to be on are falling away. They're going away because it's the same stuff over and over again. They don't find anything. They may find a pile of sticks. They may find a rock thrown in the woods or hear some weird noise but that's it. That's all that's ever happened. And they keep week after week coming back with more episodes of nothing happening. People are going to start tuning out. They want proof. They want to see things. 50 years ago, UFOs were a myth. Now they're having congressional hearings on UFOs.
Yeah.
And they have reputable Air Force and naval pilots coming forward and saying, "Yeah, we saw this," and commercial airline pilots saying, "Yeah, we saw that. There's something there. We don't know what it is, but there's something going on." So things are coming to light. Things are starting to.
So, what do you think could be the possible connection to why these sudden, as of March 2026, this like cluster of sightings? Like, what would be like, why? What would be the significance of that, or
All of a sudden,
all
you
of a
know, no-
sudden?
nothing since the 70s, and then here in a week we've had 9 sightings. Why? I don't know. I have no clue. Maybe they're migratory. Maybe
Yeah.
that is the path that they're using going back and forth
Mhm.
between here and Canada or Alaska. Hell, they've been seen all over. Maybe that's it. They're just following a migratory trail, and at this particular time, they pass through that area, and people were able to catch them. I don't know. That's the only explanation I can muster. They like spending summertime in the north because it's cooler.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
there have
I
been
mean,
Bigfoot sightings down in Texas too, but
yeah. It'd be pretty hot for them there.
Yeah, all that hair is way too hot. Humidity, they just can't handle that shit.
Yeah. No, yeah, the humidity gets to the
Yeah, that makes the hair frizzy and
yeah,
it's hard to
exactly.
manage. Yeah.
I just gotta scooch my cat. He's scratching at the door. It's driving me crazy.
Oh, sure, go ahead. But yeah, that's it. Like I said, I will post whatever I can find, some pictures, videos that I feel are um,
Legitimate.
legitimate. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we can go from there. So look forward to seeing those. If you're listening on audio, you can find the video of this podcast on YouTube or Spotify under the same name, The Witch and the Wise Man. Either place, we have both. Our YouTube page or channel, I should say, has tons of stuff out there. All kinds of videos and music and all kinds of fun things. We're trying to make it fun for everybody. And our podcast is out there also, so you can tune into either. But the YouTube channel is our main channel, and that's where we have most of our fun stuff at. No, I take it back. All of our fun stuff at. You're just going to get podcasts everywhere else, but we are everywhere else. Just like Bigfoot, I guess. But
yeah.
but yeah, it's what's your take? I mean, you ask me why all of a sudden if these interdimensional, are they just native to the land, are what's your take on this? Why would all this stuff happen in waves like this, just all of a sudden?
Well, I mean, there is definitely weight to this theory about migration. I mean, we were migratory if we lived in landscape that seasons changed. I mean, it makes sense if, tribes would have moved around. It would make sense that these creatures would move around as well. I also think potentially maybe they're starting to want to be seen a little bit. Like maybe maybe things have changed in the world. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe I like to think that if 9 sightings in like a week, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That seems a little more purposeful than just accidentally coming across a migratory path. Like that feels a little bit purposeful. Like why they do? Like why, if they are wanting to be seen, why now? I don't know.
Yeah. And we may never know. I would. This is a two-sided coin here. I would love for someone to capture one to reinforce that it is real. We have one. This is what they look like. This is where we got this. They're all over. On the other hand, I would hate for that to happen. That would kill me, honestly, because
what they would do.
Humans being humans, what they would do to that poor thing would be nothing short of criminal.
Yeah.
It really would.
And agreed. And how do we know that hasn't happened? How do we know that, like, I mean, I don't trust the government. I don't trust these agencies, that would be involved in something like that. Like, like we don't know. Same with the aliens. We don't know if they've captured these things. They've hidden a lot of history from us and a lot of truth from us. So could you imagine if suddenly the population knew that there were creatures living in the woods? Like, or maybe they have knowledge that they want to keep from us. Like,
I'm not so sure that. I think, honestly, in my opinion, I think there's probably more people that believe in Bigfoot that don't.
Yeah.
But they have accepted the fact that just like a deer or a bear, it's something that's here and it's something that lives in the woods. So they just let it go. They just not concerned. They're not interested in looking for it. They're not interested in finding it. So they're just gonna
Unless it's interdimensional. And like if it's interdimensional, perhaps these creatures came through and something happened to how they can leave again. Like maybe
Right.
they got somehow stuck here if it's an interdimensional portal. Like, and if it is something that's interdimensional, I mean, people could accept that there's creatures here that lived in the woods that we have not discovered over time, but it'd be a tough pill to swallow for humanity to actually think there is things that can go in and out of our dimension. That's a whole ball game.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think that if that is what these creatures are capable of, and this is how they travel in and out, then for humanity as a whole to discover that,
Right.
that would be pretty that would be very disruptive
And
to
you know,
what people think is truth or reality.
yeah. And one of the things that they find a lot out in the woods are these structures, and they don't know what they are. They don't know what they're for. They think the Bigfoot is building them, but they don't know why. And these are very, very large fallen trees or large limbs that they literally will weave into this structure in the trees, but they're not sure why they're doing that. Now, I wonder if you're going off of the interdimensional theory, I wonder if that's their gate. I wonder if that's their portal
Yeah,
that
like a landmark. They're a
yeah,
landmark.
they erect this place to come and go as they please through this portal, but it only works for them, and we have no idea what it is or how it works. So, but they come across them all the time out in the woods.
Yeah.
And it's not something that's fallen. The way these things are woven together and set up, it's not a tree fall by any means. It's a definite, you know, uh, intentionally built structure.
Yeah, and that kind of for me, I lean more towards that theory just because of the description that some people have given of the atmosphere changing and everything going quiet in the woods and this high pitched sounds they hear and these strange lights. There's, to me that kind of holds a little bit, and too like why they're not seen as often as what if
Mhm.
they're popping in and out of this dimension, then it makes sense we wouldn't find bones. It makes sense that we wouldn't find their lodgings. It makes sense that because they're not here all the
Right.
time.
But
Like maybe it is migrational, but migrational on different planes. I
yeah,
mean, I
and
lean towards that theory myself.
it definitely, that theory would make sense, especially because they can't track them. They
Yeah,
find footprints, but the footprints always go to nowhere, and they
it
run out
disappeared.
after a very short amount of time. They're gone. They
Yeah.
vanish. So that may explain true a lot of it again. Now this story, I mentioned it earlier about Jacko, which I'm sure you've heard of. But for those of you who haven't, this story dates back to 1884. And this ape human hybrid, um, they found it in British Columbia. It was a bunch of railroad workers actually captured it. Um, they described it in detail to a newspaper, the Daily Colonist. It was described as a 4 foot 7 inch tall being with long black hair. It was nicknamed an ape boy, um, and has become a famous, though likely hoarded and misidentified, piece of Sasquatch folklore. Now, as I said, it happened in 1884. It was a train crew that captured it. They kept it in a cage. The creature, let's see, looked part human, part ape. They took Jacko to Yale University to be studied, and it was never seen again. Completely disappeared at that point. They took it to the university. It faded away and never was a thing after that. There was no reports, nothing written up, no studies done that we know of during that time to help solidify the story of this being an ape boy. After the capture, Jacko was taken to Yale, like I said, but the story quickly faded, leading to rumors it had escaped or had been sold to a circus. So you got the story, but I don't think it's the full story. Shit like that just doesn't disappear.
Right. Unless it's meant to disappear. Yeah.
Unless it was intentional that we're going to put a lid on this and we're going to shut this down because it's, again, government.
It doesn't fit the narrative.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's the story of Jacko, supposedly. The story of Ishi is a lot better. I definitely read that book.
Yeah.
That is definite. I think they made a film out of it years later, but I never
probably sounds interesting enough.
Yeah, for sure. But the phenomena goes on. What is this? If you guys have any idea, please write us at wiseman at our Gmail.
Or share an experience if you've had one. I'd love to hear.
Definitely. If you want to come on and talk about it, we can arrange that too.
I'd love that.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. But I don't know. It's just hard to believe that in 2026 there are still things chasing around that we don't know, and we don't know what they are, and we don't even know if it's real. I mean, by all accounts, this could just be a made-up story going on and on and on. I can't see that happening. If people make up a story about something, sooner or later it's going to die out, and it's not going to come back.
And how, through all the different continents and all the different isolation of tribes, do people still have the similar story?
Right.
Throughout history. Like how, that it's not like they had the internet to be like, hey, we saw this creature, and then these other people, oh yeah, we saw a creature. No, like there was no communication between, there's stories all over the globe about these types of creatures. So they just have different names. So I just, to think it's just, I don't know, to think it's just folklore with no backing, even historically, like that, just to me, that seems more ridiculous than actually having a creature that exists.
And it's something that literally is worldwide. These things have been seen everywhere.
Yeah.
I would really want to get to the bottom. I really want to find out if there is or not. But it's like you said, how is it that people all over the world from different regions who never communicated before have the same story? Yeah, that falls under the same line as dragons. How do people from every civilization ever created since the beginning of time have a story about dragons, yet these people have never met each other, never knew each other existed?
Yeah.
They have the same story. How is that possible? Is that real, or is it a myth? Are we misidentifying dinosaur bones when they should be actually dragon bones?
Yeah.
Where is that line drawn of myth and reality? Because the two are intertwining at a phenomenal pace right now. Like I said earlier, what they said wasn't real 50 years ago is turning out to be real now. What was just made up is turning out to be real now. And you even get into the business of the paranormal and doing ghost investigations. If you've ever been on one, a really good one, you're going to be a believer when you walk out of there. You're going to go, yeah, I saw that with my own two eyes. And you have the proof. I have proof,
Yeah.
shared experiences. So
Yeah, and still people won't believe it if they don't want to. Like, and that's what I always say. Like, if people will convince me, it's like I'm not in the business of convincing anybody about the paranormal because I don't care if you believe it or not. I literally don't care. I know it's true because I've had experiences. And the only thing that separates non-believers from believer is an experience. That's it.
exactly, exactly, and it's as we talked about in the last episode. Well, you show me proof that ghosts are real, or you show me proof that Bigfoot is real, or you show me proof that dragons are real. Okay, well, you show me proof that Jesus is real and God is real. You don't have the
Yeah.
proof. All you
Yeah.
have is the belief. That's
It's
it.
belief. Yeah.
And it's you can either, I'm like you can either choose to believe this or not. I don't care. I'm not going to lose 1 minute sleep whether you believe this or not. Not a single minute sleep.
Yeah,
I know the things that
exactly.
I've saw. I know the things that I've seen. I know the things that I've come across. Have I seen Bigfoot? No. Have I seen signs? No. Have I discovered anything in all my time spent out in the woods in Northern California or Nova Scotia or Ohio? Nope, not a thing. Not a thing. But I've listened to the stories, and they go on and on and on from literally ever. Excuse me.
Yeah, but like to be fair, for myself, even like I mean, other than when I was young and we were camping out in the backwoods in BC, in the mountains, I mean, there could have been Bigfoot there. We were taking mushrooms and tripping out, so who the hell knows? But other than that, I don't spend a lot of time in the backwoods.
Ah,
Oh,
yeah.
to be young.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, be young and dumb. I was there.
Yeah.
I lived through it. We're the survivors of that.
Yeah.
But
Exactly. But like, I mean, other than being in remote areas, that honestly, I haven't spent enough time. There's a lot of animals I've not seen that I know exist. Like, yeah, there's a lot. Like you even look at bobcats or lynx or like these types of creatures that are nocturnal too. Like
I've
I
never
haven't
seen
seen a lot of animals I know exist here.
I've never
'Cause
seen an elk or a moose in the wild. Never.
Really?
Yeah, never have. I've seen deer, lots of deer. I've seen
Wow.
bobcats. I've seen mountain lions. I've seen all kinds of animals in the wild, but I've never seen an elk. Um,
Well,
or a
that's because
moose.
we'll have to go next trip you come to Canada, we'll have to go back home to Alberta and you'll see moose and elk there, that's for sure.
Oh, that'd be cool. I'd enjoy that. But yeah,
Yeah.
and like I said, I grew up in the woods,
Yeah.
in the woods, so I've seen all kinds of animals. But
But I mean, that even shows you right there. Like you're familiar with being in the woods. I'm familiar with being in the woods, and there's lots of known animals I have never actually
yeah,
seen with my eyes. So I know they exist. I've seen moose and elk. You haven't. You've seen probably creatures I've not seen or animals. So why is it so out to left field to think that there is a very intelligent creature that exists in very remote areas that we haven't really seen other
mm,
than a few people having encounters. And a lot of those times it's chance encounters or it's people like working in the woods, like those loggers and stuff like that.
mhm,
They'd have a higher chance of coming across something than you and I would.
sure. And all the like I said, all the times I spent out in the woods, I saw a bear once. One time, I saw a brown bear, and I was in my car. I was
Really? So
my
you,
brother and I, were driving down this logging road up in Northern California, driving just out one day, driving around in the mountains, driving down this logging road, and here comes this bear sliding on his ass, sliding down the side of the hill, slides down, hits the road right in front of us, stands up, looks back and forth, and we stop the car. We're sitting there, we just, we're 15 feet from a bear. We're in a car that
well,
has no doors and no top. Yeah, we're on a road you can't turn around. It's about this wide.
whoa.
And it's looked at us and walked over and walked down the side of the road, turned around, sat on its butt, and slid down the hill some more. So I said, I've never heard of a bear sliding on his butt down a hill. And the
That's
people who
awesome.
live up there go, yeah, that's how they quickly get down the side of the hill. They sit down on their ass and slide. You say, you see those little tiny trails that come down from the top of the mountain? Those are bear trails. That's where they sit and slide.
That's a bear ass trails.
Bear ass trails, exactly. All right. Well, listen, one thing that I do want to say, we're about out of time here, but one thing I do want to say, if any of you out there have encountered a Bigfoot, especially those in Ohio right now, one of those that I would like to talk to somebody who just recently witnessed this, please get a hold of us. We are easy to find. We are on Facebook, The Witch and the Wise Man. We're on TikTok, The Witch and the Wise Man. We're on Instagram, same thing. We're on, we have a Gmail account flashing up on the screen. It's The Witch and Wise Man at gmail.com. We're like everywhere. We're easy to get a hold of. Please get a hold of us. I would love to talk to you. I'd love to interview you if you want to come on the show. But I hope somebody out there hears this and get back, because I would like to continue this with an actual witness that came across that. So anyway, Tonya, we're about out of time.
Yes.
Sweet. It was always, as always, a pleasure talking to you and seeing you again. Your bright, smiley face. I'm glad you're finally thawing out up there, as we are. It's still cold, but it's not like it was. It's not, you know, below freezing with 4 feet of snow on the ground. So,
well, no, only 2 feet now. So this is progress.
So yeah, we're getting there. We're getting back into summertime. It'll be here before we know it.
Oh, well, yes. So we'll have to start talking about your next visit.
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. And with that, guys, we are going to say goodnight. Tonya, thank you again.
Thank you.
Tune in next time for another exciting episode of The Witch and the Wise Man. Take care now.
Her laughter is shadow.
Remember, you can reach either Tonya Steinborn or D.E. Riley at thewitchandwiseman@gmail.com. Also, if you prefer to watch our podcasts, you can find us on YouTube or Spotify video at The Witch and the Wise Man.